We don't miss, folks. We does not miss whatsoever. Oh my gosh. We don't miss, folks. We does not miss whatsoever.
Hello and welcome. I am the Letterhack, and with me now is Dieter McBusiness. What is going on, Dieter? Thanks for being here.
Yes, thank you for having me, Letterhack. Always a pleasure to join you and talk about the most random of things.
Yeah.
How are you?
And I'm awesome, man. I'm doing great. And like this is especially cool for me because this is the first time we're talking, and with you as like an official contributor and one of it's hard for me to say like there's a better contributor in this space or like a favorite contributor in this space, but like I'm not always able to watch. I can't
Yeah,
watch
it's hard.
every
You can't
stream the
watch
whole
everything.
time.
Yeah.
But I always
Yeah.
watch yours, so I can say that
Oh, nice.
you're like most watched show
Yeah,
on the space.
Oh, that's amazing to hear. Wednesdays, 4 p.m., 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. For those of you who might not already be aware, on this space, which has grown way faster than my channel. I always get a few subscribers out of a live stream over there, but it's good. I've been working with Devil's Advocate Productions, Alex, and we've got that I-95 connection, Boston to New York, and we do well with we did a great session with Pat Dixon. Or Ben Dixon, sorry, Pastor Ben Dixon. And he, the three-way that we had was fantastic. And I just got, I'm grateful to be a part of it. You guys do all the hard work. I just show up and run my mouth. And I decided that when I was going to participate, since I only had an hour to work with every week, that I would try to make it original content, not just, my old essays, which I'm really proud of. But I've realized, there's only 13 of them, and one of them isn't really an essay. It's just me ranting about Kamala's loss for 5 minutes.
That's valuable.
Yeah, it's just asking someone to watch 30 minutes is a lot, but what I'm trying to do is get people to realize if you watch my essays at 1.5 times speed, then they work really well. If not, some people say better.
That's awesome. But look, and seriously, like, everyone who watches this video, because I'm bound to get 300 to 400 views in the next few days, every single person should scroll down and subscribe to Dieter's YouTube channel. I don't know
Yes, please.
why you wouldn't. Like, I'm not going to have anyone on this show I wouldn't recommend. I'm just not. This isn't like debate bro stuff where I'm bringing on like literally like horrible people. Everyone I bring on is rock solid. Like, you gotta sub. But here's the thing about having you on this space and like having this space. That's what we want you to do, is like sit down and go for it and just talk.
Yeah.
Like, if we're doing the hard work, then that translates to exactly how I pitch it to you and everyone. We're just trying to make a place where folks like yourself can do your thing and like more of that and hit more people and reach more people. I love it. So look, here's the difference between us though. In every way, when I turn on this webcam and fire up this microphone, I am the guy who is always asking people if my way of thinking is right on any given topic. Like, lately, I've been wanting to talk to someone about what I call political gurus in online media, especially in online media. And I can think of no better person than yourself, Dieter, because you are what I would call confidently sensible. Okay? Like, I want you to be confident because you make sense. Meaning, unlike me, and I'm going to tell you why I think confidence can be a risk too. I mean, that's what we're talking about. But like, unlike me, you put all of your thoughts right out there. Like, you have essays about this stuff. Like, it's you talking, like you said. And, before we wrap, I'll give you some more examples of how accurate I think you are. But I don't want to sell myself too short. I am a confident guy. It's just that I don't like going through life setting myself up for failure. And personally, I think going on air and acting like I've got answers or all the answers or a few answers.
Right. Yep. The know-it-all.
that would put my flaws on display instead of
Mhm.
making like, a more positive means of giving people ideas to think about. So for example, we see a lot of broadcasters online saying things like, and I know you've heard this, I always tell you guys, or I've been warning you, or
Right.
like in
I told you so. Sure.
the most extreme cases, they say things like, I'm the only one who called it. I'm the only one
Mhm.
who's saying anything. Like, come on, really? But like, I want to know from you, is that an outright good or bad thing? Does it depend on like other factors or context? Should people take the position that they are like, a name you can trust in political commentary, or should the commentary speak for itself?
Oh, I think you should absolutely give people a shortcut to your intellectual value proposition if you're going to talk politics. So for me, it's what's your area of expertise? And conservative cognition for me, conservative psychology. Why are people conservative? Why do they think that way? Why do they struggle to empathize with those that are different from them? And actually, in a weird way, creating empathy by giving people the conservative logic that runs through their heads, but at the same time telling them they're grown-ups, even though intellectually they're children, they're grown-ups. So don't forgive them. Like, don't let it go. So my value is, how do we treat MAGA? How to identify MAGA? How to deal with MAGA for the future? If you were to get into specific policies on the left, there are plenty of other voices on this space, and very many voices within the Democratic Socialists of America, of which I am a member, and just got back from their conference, which was really fun. And you should be very transparent about what you know and what you don't know. Real intellectuals never stop learning. So when they are confronted with either being wrong or not knowing something, guess how they look at that? As an opportunity to learn. So I think we both share a commitment to advocating that we are here to add value to the conversation, but we are by no means suggesting that we know everything, that we have all the answers. With that said, if you're talking conservative culture, politics, and psychology, I don't think there's anything anybody out there can teach me anymore. I think I know it all because I just grew up with it. It's in me. It's in me. I feel it like instinctually. It never leaves you. And so for me, it's like I don't want to do that personal bullshit of, oh, I'm so scarred by a conservative upbringing, yada yada yada. There's plenty of people out there with conservative upbringings that have had issues. I grew up next to conservative power, though, and that's a little bit different. But having traveled that journey, I'm kind of new to the party on the progressive left. So it's like I'm not going to waste my time, or at least I'm not going to interfere with the progress that's being made in terms of policy conversations. But in terms of political gamesmanship, political strategy, and tactics, yeah, I am going to weigh in on those conversations. So people, that's all a long-winded way of saying people on the left need to practice what they preach with responsible intellectual, exploration, and pick their spots, so to speak. Like, yeah, I know about that. No, I don't know about that. Maybe I should be asking questions. The worst thing you can be on the left is a fucking know-it-all. It's the worst. It's just that we get it. A lot of I don't think I get this reputation, but because of what I just said about myself and my commitment to admitting that when I'm wrong and when I don't know something. But I do think that a lot of lefties who are outspoken about their politics come across to a lot of people as know-it-alls. I do think that happens. I think that's the stereotype of the progressive lefties. Like, oh, you're just above it all. You and your purity tests. And I'm like, well, they just had a vote. They're going to have a vote on whether or not to censure AOC by the DSA. And, that's like kind of an interesting way of wondering, is that a purity test, or is that like she legitimately fucked up because, she voted to continue funding for Iron Dome? And it's like, there you go. That's kind of the left's problem, right? You've got this political star in AOC that you want to preserve and grow into a real asset, but you also want to stay true to your values And it seems like the hardline progressive policy, no matter what ist you are, is no more money and no more weapons for Israel. And anybody who doesn't have that position can get lost. So the left has a lot of fractionalization to deal with. That's what I'm running into the most with the DSA stuff is I'm trying to get people to unite and be like, we're all on the same team, that kind of thing.
Kind of wish, just real quick on that AOC
Yeah.
thing, kind of wish there was a way that she could have had that conversation with them beforehand and then made her decision knowing what the consequences would be instead of it being like, infighting drama. You know what I mean? Because that's sort of how it's like perceived by, everyone else, and then potentially used against them by,
Right.
anyone who's not socialist leaning or socialist. But what about in like the case of, since we're talking about politicians, what about in the case of somebody having the need to like predict a nominee or who's going to run or who's going to win? Like right after Trump got elected in November, it was like the next fucking day, people were like, Harris is going to run for governor. Oh, this is going to happen. We got to look at Ossoff.
Celebrity politics. I fucking hate celebrity politics. Yeah.
What are we talking about? Well, it's coming from like, people I respect, credible sources.
No, it's just fame, though. It's just political fame.
Yeah.
And it's all name recognition. It's garbage. It's garbage analysis. It's all superficial as shit. It should be about three things: passion, talent, skills. Notice I didn't say experience. You know why? Because the system is fucking broken. And we need people who haven't gone through years, if not decades, of the system programming them to make it think it works, because it doesn't. It's broken. And that's why I'm so excited about, candidates like Kat Abagzalia in Illinois. I'm not excited about presidential hopefuls, though, if that's where you want to go for predictions for 2028, because it's either going to be Gavin Newsom and Wes Moore, and I'm not thrilled about either of them. But yeah, Gavin's getting a lot of press. At least he's trying to bring the heat a little bit. I mean, and with this threat to redistrict California, I mean, I dig it.
Yeah, I right away I was like, okay, are we normalizing gerrymandering? I don't want to do that. Right. Is there, I don't know. Like, it's come to this and it's happening right now. What was it? They said it in New York, they're saying in California, and it's like, okay, I mean, they're voting blue but whatever. I mean, if they think like it's the way to fight back, fine. I mean, at least you're fighting. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, instead of doing nothing, because then we would all be like, how come no one's doing anything? But like, I don't personally make predictions. I'd rather, I don't want to say it. I want to analyze the election itself. I want to look at what's happening. I want to look at who's involved. When I make my mind up, I may advocate for somebody. I may say who I'm voting for. I may recommend people vote for that, but with a reason, not just because it was like literally a horse race or a sporting event where I can just say, oh, you know what? I think this person's got a good chance this time around. I think, and I was right. And I called it. I don't. Well,
that's just a horse race stuff. Like, yeah, it's superficial. It's just based on the outcome, just looking at the outcome, and rather than the style of the campaign, which is something you and I are both more interested in. And you can't argue when you see those pictures of Kamala Harris with Liz Cheney that she played to the center, she played to bipartisanship. And if there is any lesson, and remember, the essence of genius is simplicity, and that goes for communication too. The essence of the lesson of 2024 for the Democrats is that bipartisanship is dead. The left does not want to hear any more about bipartisanship. MAGA is off a cliff. Start calling them crazy, stupid, evil. Start calling them treasonous, Trump trash terrorists. And, I call in one of my essays Confederate flag waving, Bible beating gun nuts. And that's actually a very practical way of identifying them, because those three groups of people, if you amalgamate them, it's somewhere between 50 and 60 million people. I was watching Scaramucci not too long ago, just because that guy's on his show. I follow him on Instagram.
Show? Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah, he's partnered. So I watch Morning Joe every morning for at least 20 minutes, as much as like an hour.
just because I like to know where the baby boomer liberals are at, because we got to fucking move them, or that line of thinking is what we need to move if we're going to really win. Yeah, you got to, sorry, who were we talking about just a second ago? Remind me.
You were talking about, I personally, I'm talking about gurus who are trying to make predictions. You were talking about how we need to treat MAGA.
Oh. So the political gurus. Well, we'll get onto your thing. So that's actually, I think, why I was bringing up Morning Joe, was because they have all these experts that can't figure out why Zoran won. And it's because you got to offer that. That's where I was going, was there's a hunger right now for a transformation of the Democratic Party, because their poll numbers suggest as much. They haven't had this low of popularity in a long time. And when you get on there and you see, Joe Scarborough, Mika Brzezinski, Willie Geist, Jonathan Lemire, Mike Barnacle, and all these other, you see Jonathan Martin, who I hate more than anyone, come on from Politico and talk about like, oh, Zoran, who's with this socialism, what is this? Why is this so popular? It's like, have you seen the poll numbers for Democrats and of Democratic leadership? They hate you guys. Like, the writing's on the wall. So the mainstream media is agenda driven. They are very much agenda driven. They are not truth driven. They are not honest driven. They are, they're there to satiate the interests of their audience, like very much like entertainment. It's not objective reality. And you can thank Bill Clinton and the 1996 Telecommunications Act for that, by the way, in case everybody wants to go on a Google or a Google rabbit hole. Check out Bill Clinton's Telecom Act in 1996, because that was an FDR policy that he repealed.
I like a good rabbit hole. And I've got a trip coming up, so that'll be good. Okay. This brings me to something. I'm skipping ahead, but like, you told me something earlier this year, and this was the first I heard anyone posing this as political strategy specifically. Although right now, I feel like very recently, more and more people are taking on this as a strategy. But you said, these aren't the exact words, but you said that we need to take the gloves off with our political opponents. And you are here right now tonight.
Yes.
A barrage of humiliating posts and memes from Gavin Newsom recently, right? Is this what you had in mind?
It's starting to be, yes.
Saying, hey, look, we can make fun of Trump too. Is that what you meant by that? Or
yeah, I think, but Trump, and it can't stop at Trump. So here's the conventional knowledge. So this this think tank that's headed up by this Berkeley grad, who's a very smart woman, make no mistake, but she always wanted to suggest, and she was part of Kamala's campaign, by the way, wanted to suggest the difference between the political leaders and their followers, right? So don't blame MAGA voters, just blame Trump and his MAGA minions, right? His cabinet and all of his people and so forth. And I'm saying, no, we need to cancel politically 50 million people. So don't stop Newsom if he continues to do this, but he's still not doing what, like, as intensely or as broadly as I want. So he's not calling them white trash fascists, which we've talked about being an incredibly useful little knife out there. What does WTF stand for now? You know it. I know it. We don't need to say it, but we all hate him, right? Yep.
Yeah.
Just getting things off on the right foot. That can be used in a social aspect now, because it's got to be social punishment, and it's for their own good. They don't understand anything else. This is what I can tell you about conservatives, is in terms of learning and changing behavior, fear is the only way. Punishment is the only way they learn. If you try love, they're just going to take it as an opportunity to fuck you over. And that's what they've done, since I've been alive. But, yeah, that's what I got to say about that.
I think it's like, a lot of people are like, get him, Newsom, like, this is what we need. And I'm just sitting here going, what is it? I mean, this isn't all we need.
It's a start.
It's a start.
No, but it's a start. So here's the thing. Here's my advocacy with the DSA is I want them to be the spearhead for the anti-MAGA movement. I saw some protesters going on this weekend, And I was like, this is great. People are getting politically activated. But now you got to get them to stick. They got to stick to the cause and contribute on a consistent basis. And that means not just joining their local Democratic Party, because we know how much we can trust them with power, but joining the DSA and saying, no, this is the pill that the Democratic Party is going to swallow, and it's going to transform us into an evolved party, one that doesn't apologize for advocating for a practical relationship between the government and the citizen. But these are all lofty aspirations, and it's going to take time. But I think Newsom could be a step towards that. I think the best progressives can hope for, leftists can hope for, unless someone like Jon Stewart comes out of nowhere, is that Newsom or Wes Moore will win, and they will appoint some progressives to important positions. I think that's the best we can reasonably hope for 2028. But in the meantime, though, there's some primaries elections that I'm really excited about. So I don't know. It might be cope, but I try to be optimistic. It's the athlete in me. It's like we're not dead. We're not losing. We can still win. But the good news is the country is undeniably desperate for new leadership. That's this. Take all this racism, take all this racial tension, take all this gender tension at work, who's getting paid more, whatever, who's getting the promotions, all this culture war shit, and put it into generational terms. That's what we have never done. We've never done that before. We've never said, wait a second, this is part of a pattern of political leadership that goes back 45 years. Who became the biggest voting bloc 45 years ago? Baby boomers. Who transformed the party of FDR and progressivism into the party of neoliberal capitalism? Clinton, the first baby boomer president. So there needs to be an accountability and kind of like in a way, telling boomers of all stripes, unless they're like apologetic progressives willing to support younger political figures, to kind of just shut up and get out of the way. Like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer aren't having going away parties when they retire from Congress. They need to be told to get the hell out because they caused a lot of damage.
I'm pretty sure they're going to die in office, right?
Yeah, I know. That's
good Lord.
I can't really argue with that. I can't argue with that prediction. I think it's a reasonable prediction based on the norms that have been established by, veteran politicians like them. Yeah, that's kind of what happens. But yeah,
let me ask you this. Is there a line for you? Like, this is the thing. I don't want there to be, but is there an imaginary line for you that you wouldn't cross? Or maybe this is just, you're this guy, right? You wouldn't cross a line like this, but do you deliberately have a line that you wouldn't cross in terms of sliding into someone who's a shot caller or a prediction maker or, a guru, for lack of a better term? Or like, are you actively trying not to be that kind of person, or do you just know that you're not? You know what I mean?
I don't. You tell me what I'm going to tell you what I want to be, and you tell me how it fits into that question, because it's a little bit. I think I could get lost pretty easily if I try to answer that question. I want to be the dude that gets in front of the bully's face and says, "Shut the fuck up, sit the fuck down, leave people alone, let the smart people go to work." And you do that, you beat the schoolyard bully by getting in his face and daring him to hit you, because he'll either back down or he'll hit you, and then you'll get up, and then everyone will see it and get involved and take your side. And eventually you can outnumber him. But someone's still and that's what Newsom, I think, is trying to do. But I just know that I can do it better because I come from that culture, and I know how these sociopathic MAGA trash bullies work. But is there a line? Like, I mean, I don't advocate for political violence, but I do advocate for social punishment. Like there's in those restaurants, for example, it says we reserve the right to refuse service to anyone for any reason. They don't have to give a reason.
Oh,
so I'm saying if you're in Boston, New York, Philly, Chicago, DC, San Francisco, LA, Portland, Seattle, any of these places, right? and you got a restaurant, there should be a sign that says no MAGA paraphernalia, right? Like forever from now on. Like it might as well be a fucking swastika. Like that's the level of social rejection, because we need to kill it for a generation if we're going to recover. This shit could come back. Like this is like a cancer you can't get rid of. You have to, you know, I describe it as a cancer that you can't cut out. What do you do with cancer that you can't cut out? You radiate it. And that's what this is. That's what this social punishment is it's the radiation of the cancer of not just MAGA, but conservatism. That's where I really want to get the message out. And so I'm trying to, like, in that sense, I'm trying to push the boundary for others to find it acceptable. And I'm trying to get them to be like, no, don't stop with just criticizing the conservative politicians. Criticize the people that keep voting for them. If you meet someone that voted for Trump 3 times, don't really give that relationship a chance. Probably move on. If someone voted for Trump 3 times, they're probably too far gone. Like, let it go. You know, so in that sense, I'm trying to kind of get people to find that level of social rejection more acceptable, because we got a lot of lovers on the left, man. We got a lot of lovers on the left.
I know.
And
I would rather be with them, but I am a brawler. Look, I do think that. So this is what I'm getting at. You aren't a know-it-all. You don't think you know better than anyone. You don't set out to tell people what they don't know. You set out to tell people your opinion and potentially educate them on what they may not know, right? Like you're not like, nobody knows this, I gotta tell them, right? You're not that guy, and I get that, and I appreciate it, and I think that that's what I mean by, like, you're very sensible and confident, and those things go together very well in your case. You get guys like Steve Kornacki, who, you know, the map guy, right?
The data geek,
Yeah, he's referred to as a political guru now and then, but he's just good at analyzing the numbers and percentages. And I don't see that as a guru, but it's harmless if somebody refers to him that way. Whereas like David Axelrod, it's very dangerous if people give him bona fides or credit for being a guru, because this guy is just saying things in a very black and white manner on top of like a baseless argument. Like he's just saying Democrats need to do this. And it's like, but fucking who asked you? Oh, you're a guru. So now, like, whatever you say, we all have to listen to. And
yeah,
so
I mean, if you worked for a winning presidency, that's like the ultimate trump card. Like, oh, he worked in the Clinton White House. Oh, he worked in the Obama White House. He must know what he's talking about. It's like, well, let's talk about what those presidencies actually left behind for the country, and have an objective conversation about that.
Exactly. Like, I mean, it's like him and Bush's speechwriter sitting here having a conversation.
But nobody gives any Bernie people. But Bernie people don't get any love. Bernie people don't get any love. I mean, there was one guy on CNN for a while, but when I see, I'm telling you, I need to bring him back up again. But when I see Jonathan Martin from Politico on Meet the Press, and on at least once a week, if not twice, sometimes 3 times a week on Morning Joe, it's like, what are you doing, MSNBC? And they haven't had, by the way, they had Zoran on Meet the Press, but they didn't have him on Morning Joe, and Morning Joe's based in New York. So I'm like, where are the balls? Where are the balls at MSNBC to say, like, hey, we're supposed to be the side of open-mindedness. All right, Zoran's popular. He didn't just win, he crushed it. So we're at ground zero right here in Manhattan. Let's get out into the crowd and start talking to Zoran fans. Let's have the campaign manager on. I mean, it's the mayor of New York. Like it or not, that's a media frenzy. And they could actually be attracting a lot of new, younger viewers if they were to do that. But Joe Scarborough is a conservative. I mean, half the damn staff at MSNBC came out of the Republican establishment.
Yeah.
Before, it's pathetic. People try to say, oh, it's the liberal news network. No, it's not. No, it's not. I watch it when I work out because it pisses me off. And there's nothing better for a workout than anger.
Oh, I'm glad you're hate watching it, because you were convincing me to skip ahead and just get like a This Space morning show ASAP, because like we need an alternative to that shit. Which, that would be awesome. Anybody want to do that? Let me know.
There are two things. One is Morning Joe does have this guy Ratner, and they have a couple others on there for data analysis. That's actually really useful. They do the polls. But Kornacki and Axelrod, they rely on those polls. Look at the polls leading up to 2024. It all showed that Kamala had a fighting chance. And then when all the dust settled and the votes were counted, she got worked. And I know there was some suspicious shit going on with vote counting or whatever, but it should not have been close. And also, too, just about my commentary and my essays, like I try to bring, I don't look like a humble person, but I try to bring some humility in saying I don't know everything, but I do know this. And I theorize that all of my knowledge is experiential, even the educational, because education is nothing more than a specific form of life experience. So I theorize that when people are called stupid by society, it's not because they're actually stupid. It's because they're not thinking enough or they haven't been taught how to think. So I think a lot of these conclusions about conservatism people would get to eventually if they just took the time to think about them. If they just took the time to read, like they would discover Social Security is socialism, Medicare is socialism, Medicaid is socialism. And that's my other problem. I'd be interested to hear if we have anybody on this space, but I'm trying that my next kind of intellectual venture is to be like, okay, what does this socialist society actually look like? Like, okay, we want workers to own the means of production, but what's an example of that? How do we transition? That's really the argument, is how do we transition? Everybody wants a society where healthcare, housing, employment, and education, where all those things are, in our rights, like FDR wanted in his second Bill of Rights. But how do we transition into that society?
John
That's my
Ferretti. John Ferretti.
Ferretti.
He's contributing content to us through the Rockdale
Good.
Keep Rockdale Affordable podcast. He's a New York City subway conductor, socialist for a long time, and worked on the Mamdani campaign. You got to talk to this guy. I will send you his contact info.
Yeah, sweet.
That's your guy to ask that question to. I think that what Mamdani is doing is talking about policy.
Right.
Like I saw a meme, and I don't know if it was an actual, like from an actual conversation, but it looked like Mamdani was talking to like a constituent on a bus or something. And this guy was saying, how are you going to do free stuff like buses and meals and stuff like that and avoid being called a socialist? And then it cuts to Mamdani going, oh, we're not worried about that. And so, but I think what he's doing is presenting socialist programs and maybe policies, but not societal changes. Do you know what I mean? And so, like, the government already does this with Social Security and other things, and this is fantastic. I'm not condemning him for it, but the people that I've invited them to be on this space, and they've got their own things going on. The people I listen to on this are from Black Liberation Media, and they're very socialist minded, and they know how to criticize somebody for not being socialist while saying, but here's how you could be very easily, and how why aren't we going to the next step? Why aren't we proposing this? If they're going to call you a socialist anyway, lean into that shit. I mean, why not? But so anyway, I'm not here to criticize Zoran Mamdani's campaign, but I do think that I love that you raised that, because we at least have to keep talking about how we can take it, to the next step and the next level, and like really implement something that will have significant change in people's lives versus this cycle of bullshit, just nonstop. But let me do this. Let me ask you something that I don't know. I don't know if this is like a curveball, but this would be the only one of the night. Let's talk about our mutual pals, Zach and Gavin over at the Vanguard. This is the only, like, and everyone knows we're cool with these guys, but like this is the last thing I'll ask you about gurus. Okay. Those guys today, this afternoon, they were covering Trump and Zelensky meeting in the Oval Office, talking about how Trump was saying, like, you've suspended elections because you're at war? Maybe in a few years, if I'm at war, I could suspend elections. Zelensky was like, you'd like that, wouldn't you? But like, I think it's good that they were covering it. And they made this great point, which you and I know full well, and people, switched on like us get this, that Trump acts like he's joking about something, while in actuality, he's just floating the possibility
Right.
so he can later roll it out. He will do that,
Right.
right? This happens time and again. So the Vanguard boys framed it around how they've been warning everyone about this. And they said, we've been warning you. You know, they said it more than once, right? And they bookended it with the commentary with this. And I don't see the harm in that, like, at all. Dude, I don't care. And I have respect for those guys. But why do they have to take credit? And this is my question. Why do they have to take credit for what they just pointed out to be Trump's literal track record? Do you know what I mean? What is the need? And I'm using these guys because, like I said, I respect people who will go and do this. And I'm like, why do you have to do that? I don't care that they do it, really. But why do you think there's a need for those two guys who you know to say that they have to, you know, that to
They
say
called
that
it.
they warned you and they called it, when
Yep.
also pointing out that this is inevitable. This is his track record.
That's just who he is, right? Yeah. No, I mean, when you make something a point of emphasis, and you know, being in this business, that you do a lot of repetition, you find yourself repeating yourself a lot because not everybody tunes into every episode, and there are certain themes. You know, for example, my understanding of conservatism that I go back to, and how to treat them, how to think about them. So when people finally get it, I'm like, yeah, okay, but they could have arrived there on their own. Like I was just saying, actually, like, people could get to the conclusions that I get to in my essays on their own if they just had the necessary information and analytical tools. But with the Vanguard guys, I think it's probably just a point of emphasis for them that they weren't getting in the media diet, whatever their media diet is. And they felt a little excited about chalking up a win. Be like, told you guys he was thinking about this. And to politically savvy people like you and me, it's like, of course he's going to try to rig the elections, or at least consider rigging the elections. He was considering running for a third term. And then there was an interview not long after he took office that said, "No, I'm not going to run for a third term."
I wouldn't rule it out. I would not.
No, I mean, I wouldn't roll it out, but you know, we're going to learn a lot in the midterms. The good thing that we did learn about with the election in 2020, when he tried to steal it, was actually our election system's pretty solid. Like, in terms of the states owning their own process, and obviously in red states, there's some really problematic shit going on.
They're already red. Yeah, I mean,
right.
Yeah, I get it.
And so they're changing the rules and so forth. But in most states, the way that our state governments empower the federal government actually works pretty well. Although, because it was really tested in 2020. Like, Trump did everything a sitting president possibly could have, save let the rioters into the Capitol to kill Congress. Like, that's the only thing that didn't happen.
You know, I like those Vanguard guys. And I guess, to be fair, they were saying, you know, to the chagrin of some of their viewers, like, they were calling it out and some of their viewers were pushing back. So I get it. And they have a growing viewership and a large platform that gets larger every day.
Yeah.
Say whatever the fuck you want, really. I mean, as long as you keep fighting the good fight, go ahead. Take your wins. Be public about it. I don't really care. I don't think it makes much difference, but just for myself, in order, you know, I constantly want to, I talk shit about people who act guru-ish and who's like, you know, no, hey, you guys, look back. I'm the only one. Who gives a fuck, man? Here we are. Like, oh, we should check in with you before we do anything as far as voting is concerned. Get out of here. Like, how are you helping us think for ourselves? And that's really just my own, like, anxiety and lack of confidence in being, you know, like a broadcaster in the political sphere, you know, like,
sure,
why me? What the fuck do I have to say? So I do everything in terms of, hey, I sorted through all the stories so you didn't have to. This is what I think the important parts are. Digestible. Also, here's all the links so you can read that shit and hit all the sub links yourself, which I encourage you to do, because what do I fucking know? But, like, I can't help but do it without ending with, what do I know? Like, why me? It should be you.
Well, I think you should probably I think you should probably just get over that, because you've got a decent number of subscribers now, and you've got a really cool project in this space. You've been on the Majority Report. That was one of my bigger issues with the DSA is their media presence, because Hassan came to the convention, and I met Emma Vigeland while I was there, but that was it. I'm like, why is Mike Figueredo not here? Why are like all of Leftist Mafia not here? Isn't there a big fucking 2 hours where we do nothing but talk to progressive YouTubers who are trying to get the message out there? It depends on what those Vanguard guys' media diet is. Maybe they just haven't really come across many people saying like Trump's going to do this, but or at least consider doing it. But they're younger. Don't forget, what are they, like 26, 27, something like that. So they just got a little excited about the win. That's all. Just a little bit just a little bit of a high five moment. That's all.
I will never condemn somebody for being youthful. Jesus.
Right.
Like, I should be so lucky. Hey, let me know when the next time that DSA convention comes around. I will fucking
2
be
years.
there. Like, let's go, dude. That would be great. I'm definitely.
It's not going to be for another 2 years, but I'm trying to get on the comms committee. I won't go into it too much detail publicly, but I have goals for the DSA to be a much larger presence in American politics. Nice. Because this anti-MAGA movement needs a place to go. And to all those DSA people who might be watching who react to that sentiment with, well, we as an organization should be about what we are for, not what we are against. To that, I say you must win the game with the rules as they are currently written. And right now, according to the polls, someone wants to watch someone else knock MAGA on their ass. And the DSA's got to be that fist. And I think Zoran is a huge ray of light for the left. That's really where my optimism is, because that was a huge thing. I didn't realize at the time how much that was going to do for my like spiritual wellness. There's physical and mental health, and then there's spiritual health. And like that was fucking what's happened since then has been spiritually uplifting. And that's and maybe we'll wrap it up with me for this part. But I've been kind of dejected. I've got some personal stuff on. I'm about to make a big move and stuff like that. But I find myself watching, I think I watched maybe 10, 15 minutes of Morning Joe today. It was all about like Ukraine, like Trump's failed trip to Alaska to meet with Putin and shit like that. And then more tariff stuff or whatever. And I'm like, I got to get back. I got other shit to do. I mean, I enjoy coming on and talking with people who really do their research like you, who know facts, because I always learn something from conversations with that. And not to say I don't do my homework, I do, but I enjoy so much more getting down into answering the question of how did America devolve into what it is today? Because what it is today is not interesting to me anymore. I know what it is today because it's been this for 10 years now. Trump won in 2016. Like, we're coming up on the 10-year anniversary of Trump's win. Like, and we're already past the 10-year anniversary of his campaign. Like, they came out of the woodwork 10 years ago. They're out in plain sight, guys. If you can't see them by now, you're never going to see them. And, circling back to the Newsom stuff with the redistricting and gerrymandering, whether or not that's appropriate, I don't know enough about it in terms of like what the technical ethics may or may not be. All I know is the standard for competition within this political context is whatever hurts Republicans helps America. So I don't really care what the rules are. I'm going to bend or even break the rules if necessary to beat the Republicans, because when the Republicans win, nothing good happens. Someone very close to me whose father-in-law is a conservative a few years ago tried to be like, oh, there are good things from the Republicans. There are bad, good things from the Democrats. I'm like, what good things from the Republicans? What are you talking about? And he couldn't come up with one damn thing. But he had been programmed to think that bipartisan-based political compromise on a national level is what makes our federal government work. And it's not true. So,
right, dude.
Yeah, I love coming on here, man. You're such a nice guy. I was like, I got some shitty older brothers. I wish you were my older brother, man.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm a pretty good older brother, actually. I
Are
don't
you?
know if I was
Good.
the best younger brother because I'm smack in the middle, but like I know what it is to be a younger brother. So
As long
I
as you
I
didn't,
sort of
as long, well, that's why you weren't, an asshole to your youngest brother, because you knew that, the older brother has a lot of power over the younger brother,
that's right.
especially if the parents have the attitude, boys will be boys, which is very dangerous.
Yeah, exactly. Hey,
That's very dangerous.
dude, I love having you on the show. I can't wait to have you back on.
Yeah, anytime.
And I the stuff you're doing on this space is so fun. I really should watch more shows or make it a point to watch like the whole stream for 3 days. Who could do that? I hope people are, but like you can't work on it and pay attention to it. Like I took a real hit. I was like, oh no, I'm too busy to watch the fucking stream that we're doing. But anyway,
Well, I will
those are
say,
luxury problems.
if you ever get into a spot where you want to, like, help me out or promote my content or whatever, maybe do a reaction to one of my videos, maybe one of the short ones.
There you go.
The most recent one, Scapegoat Politics, is basically a continuation of what I described in my third episode of the Right Wing Magic Trick. Basically, all this scapegoating of minorities and immigrants and so forth, all of that is just one big distraction, and that's what magic is. Magic is the art of distraction. So
I will bring on one or both of the Vanguard boys to talk shit about you. We'll just
absolutely.
Hey, thanks a lot for coming on, man. Everyone needs to subscribe. Is there anything you got coming up like before Wednesday or
no, just
Wednesday, right?
check me out. Check me out on this space. I sent my link in the chat. Please subscribe to me if you haven't already. Really appreciate the help with the exposure. And like I say, just if you're feeling a little like your attention span is a little bit above average, check out my essays and please encourage others to do so, because I do put my heart and soul into them. And there will be more coming once I get done with this goddamn move. Oh God, I hate moves. But yeah, dude, thanks for having me on. Thanks for having me on. I'll sign off by reminding your audience and mine that you don't get change in America by asking nicely.
Nice. All right. Thanks, man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Guys, Dieter McBusiness, come on. American Wasp. Wednesdays on this space. Leading off Wednesdays now, Boston Brian. I mean, look at the lineup. We post the schedules, but like I make the schedules for this space, and I'm like, look at this lineup. Because on the one hand, this is what I want to watch, right? But on the other hand, this is what people should be watching. It's not like, oh, I'll put on YouTube and watch progressive stuff. No. You'll put on this space and watch that lineup. And that is your stuff. That is what you should be watching. It's all there. And, look, if you say, no, well, you're missing a couple of shows. We're missing a lot of shows. Don't worry. The invites are out. I'm working through a list of, I'm doing my best to get back to everyone who has inquired or asked to be a part of it. We're working on it. It's a job. Okay. But we are working on it. I want you to know that, well, we'll talk about it in a bit. We do have plenty more